gentlemen, welcome to the first ever live show of The Blueprint, live from Ann Arbor at the Fiji House. I want to introduce the host of The Blueprint. He's a two-time first-team All-Big Ten tight end, first-team All-American. Please give it up for Jake Butt.
Can you guys hear me? Mic good? Mic good? Mic good? Appreciate you guys. Well, this is awesome. I get to welcome you guys to the Blueprint here in person, in live. Shout out to 1040 and Firm over there. We're presented by Google, proudly presented by Google. No matter what question comes next, you can just ask Google. As I said, man, just thank you all for coming tonight. Justin Rowe. Also got to give a shout out to my co-host, Devin Gardner. He cannot be here tonight. He's the hardest man working in the industry in Minnesota, calling an important Big Ten game, Minnesota Golden Gophers against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. But before we bring out our next guest, if you guys aren't already following the show, follow us on all platforms and YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button at the Blueprint UM. All right, we got a fun one. I'm ready to bring out somebody from Toledo, Ohio. He stands at 6'6" tall. He weighs in at a lean and sexy 302 pounds. He's a four-time Letterman, a two-time All-Big Ten honoree, and in 2016, he was an All-American per Sporting News. Most of all, he was my co-captain back in 2016. He's a great person. He's a husband, a father, and someone I call a friend. Give it up for Chris Wormley. Appreciate you, Cap. Good to see you, man. Get situated. You got that right there. Oh. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Mic check. All right, cool. I think we could start off with a little trip down memory lane here, Worm. So the easy question, the obvious question, I think everybody wants to know that hasn't got the chance to experience it. What is it like playing at the Big House for the first time?
Man, it's amazing. And I feel like each time it gets better and better. It never gets old. So when you go out of the tunnel, you touch the banner, you see 110,000 people screaming, excited, ready to get going. It's a feeling like you can only imagine until you experience it. And me and you both were very fortunate enough to be able to experience that multiple times. But like I said, it's an experience like you can only imagine until you actually touch that banner. It's phenomenal.
I just remember my heart rate, how fast my heart was beating as you're getting buckled up and you're getting, your chin strap situated, and then as you exit the locker room, it's just that one tunnel, and all you see, it's dark. You see just like this little pocket of white light, and the closer you get to the field, the light grows and gets more pronounced until finally you get down there and it opens up to 110,000 people screaming. Do you remember the first time you touched the banner?
I do. It was 2013 against Central Michigan, and just you're nervous. I'm in the back. I'm a freshman. I'm in the back just getting ready. You walk down the tunnel, like you said, you see that little white light, and it gets bigger and bigger. The crowd is buzzing. It's like a beehive almost. And when we had Brady Hoke at the time, he lets us out, and we're running. I'm like, please don't trip. Please don't fall on my face. And make sure you jump high enough to touch the banner. Luckily, I'm 6'5", 6'6" by you.
6'6", yes.
And so being able to touch that banner, making sure you land, you get there, you're not tripping, you're not falling, but just that moment in time is something. I grew up a Michigan fan from Toledo, Ohio, so being able to do that for the first time was something that, as a 10-year-old kid, you only dream of.
I pulled those numbers from the online, the website, Michigan. So that was from the program. Are you 6'5"? You're not 6'6"?
I'm not going to lie, 6'5".
We all boosted a little bit in the program?
Yeah.
Okay,
High school,
cool.
I was 6'7" somehow.
Yeah, right, yes.
Yeah.
In the basketball program there, right?
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Right. How about your favorite memory playing at the Big House?
Man, there's a lot. I would say 2016, we were playing Penn State. They had Trace McSorley, had Saquon Barkley, a young Saquon Barkley, and as a defensive lineman, I was excited for that challenge. Saquon was a highly ranked recruit. I think he was a sophomore that year. We held him to about 45 yards rushing. I had a couple sacks. One of those games that you kind of build your legacy on, or your resume as I was heading into the NFL. it was a beating, 42-10.
Yeah.
Our offense was rolling. You guys were rolling on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, we were humming. And that 2016 season, that was probably one of our best performances overall as a team. So that one sticks out mostly.
It almost stunk how bad we beat them because Penn State went on to win the Big Ten championship
They
that
did.
year, right?
Yep,
Right?
yep.
And we beat them so bad, it's just not a big, like, memorable game. But that was a legitimate team, and that 2016 team was just so special. I'd say one of my favorite memories was senior night against Indiana in the Big House. That was the first snow game, maybe the only snow game I'd ever been a part of. Is that true for you as well?
Yeah,
certainly one that stands out, though.
Yeah, it was November. It was mid-November. It was cold. The snow was falling down. It was a close game. I think we only won by 10 points.
Yes.
It was back and forth
Indiana's
all game.
always scary.
Yeah, it's scary, man. Was a double overtime the year before that in 2015. Jared was on that team. Yeah. So being able to senior night, you want to win. Your family's on the field. You get your nice little jersey, framed jersey. They say your name, all that fun stuff. But to go out there in the snow, win it how we did. I remember doing Snow Angels with Mo Hurst on the field afterwards. That definitely stands out as well. I'm glad you reminded me of that.
The last night in the Big House, I mean, it was emotional. I have some pictures from that night, and I'll just never forget it. A few more I'll just throw out there for you. How about when we just whooped up on Florida's ass down there in the Citrus Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
Down in their own territory.
Yeah.
Jim called it Christmas camp. I mean, we were grinding for 3 hours. We figured we might as well win down there. No bowl rings, though, but we still have the memory.
Yep.
Were you, for me as a fan, I don't know, were any of you guys at that 2021 Michigan-Ohio State game? Nobody? You were? Yes. I mean, that to me is my best memory as a fan. With the snow falling, were you nervous up until the very last moment? Up until the final whistle blew. I think when Hassan Haskins broke through and hurdled the guy, everybody started to relax a little bit. Some Buckeye fans were walking up the steps. I'm like, wow, they actually are going to do this, and it's been a run ever since. So that was special. Loved the winter workouts, Worm, as well. I mean, there's some good memories there. 40, Firm, had some good times. There's a bunch of them, though. So I did want to give a shout-out. We're at the Fiji frat house, right?
Yeah.
Who's here from Fiji? You guys? There we go. I went to like an Islander party with you guys back in the days as well. So that's a good memory from Michigan. So shout out to Fiji. Thanks for hosting us back in the day. All right, Worm, first half recap of the season. Michigan's 4-2 right now. What's your emotions? Are you happy? Was this expected? I mean, where do you think Michigan's at right now based on where you expected them to be going into the season?
Yeah, I think when you look at the schedule before the season starts, you look at the games that they had. They had a big one in Norman, Oklahoma against the Sooners. They lost. They had another big matchup out west, USC. They lost. So they're sitting at 4-2. And to me personally, I think they're right where they're supposed to be. Freshman quarterback in Bryce Underwood. I think everybody wants the team to be undefeated now, especially the success and the hype that Bryce has had in his high school career. But it's going to take time. It's an adjustment for a guy like Bryce to go out there, learn a new system, get acclimated to playing in the Big House on a weekly basis. But I think sitting at 4-2, they're right where they're supposed to be, not because of anything that they did wrong or right, but I think that, the two games that they lost, Oklahoma and USC, those were big tests, big road tests. I think they have to continue to play better on the road, obviously. But sitting at 4-2, I think they're right where they're supposed to be. There's a lot left to play in the next 6 weeks of the season. I know fans are a little on edge. Maybe some of the students are on edge as well. But as a former player, sitting at 4-2, I wouldn't feel the best. But also at the same time, there's a lot left to play for.
It feels like an emotional year just from the fan base, though, where every good game, all of a sudden, Michigan's a playoff team. We're back, right? Yep. And you're climbing in the rankings. Every loss, the Oklahoma loss, it's like sounding the alarms. The USC loss, sounding the alarms. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a season. I think that's probably fitting when you consider you're starting an 18-year-old at quarterback, a guy that was just in prom. We were both early enrollees, right? You were an early enrollee. I wasn't.
No,
you were not.
No,
okay.
Well,
I was. And it just, everything moves fast. You get on campus, you get a chance for Bryce to go through the offense during spring, you do some good things that give you confidence, and then you make some mistakes and maybe you question yourself. And then you go through summer and then fall camp, and finally Sharon announces, hey, we're going to start Bryce Underwood, and everybody is so excited about that. And I think his relationship with Chip Lindsey has been the key because I mean, you tell me, how different does this offense look? To me, I think the biggest thing is they finally have an identity again. From your standpoint, what stood out to you about the offense through the first 6 games?
Number one, they're throwing the ball. Last year was
much more balanced.
Much more balanced. Obviously Justice Haynes is, before he got, hopefully he's back this week. I think should be in the conversation for the Heisman, the way he's been running the ball the first half of the season. And then when you look at just the offense as a whole with Chip Lindsey and what they're able to do throwing the ball down the field, it's night and day compared to what it was last year for the season in 2024. So I'm excited to see that relationship between Bryce and Chip Lindsey continue to evolve. And I think as long as Bryce can continue to take those incremental steps throughout the season, I think people are going to be pleased with his maturation over the his first season.
It is night and day because, when I was calling games last year, you start to go through like key stats, and Michigan's passing stats, I mean, they were grouped together with the service academies like Army, Navy, Air Force, and it's like that just cannot happen at Michigan, especially coming off that run, 3 straight Big Ten champs and a national title. All of a sudden, the expectations change, and I think that's a good thing. I think Michigan, we should expect to compete and win at the highest level. And because it's worked at times, that's why it's so frustrating when a game like USC happens, because we all know what Michigan is capable of. Coming out of that USC game, I think one of the big storylines was the defense. You played for Wink Martindale in Baltimore.
Yep.
Can you give us maybe a little bit of behind the scenes about what he's like as a coach, what makes his defensive scheme unique, and maybe what you saw in the USC game?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to start, I was with Wink for 3 years in Baltimore when I played for the Ravens, and my personal opinion is he's one of the best coaches where he goes and puts the players where they're going to succeed the best. You see with Barham this year, they moved him from inside linebacker to outside linebacker, and he's having an All-American type season. I think he's going to be a 10-plus year player in the NFL. Barham.
I think he's a first-round pick too. Yeah, they think he's that level of talent.
I think so. And when you look at him and what he's done from just these first 6 weeks to what he can do for the rest of his career, I think the sky's the limit for that guy. But going back to Wink, he's a pressure blitz heavy guy. I think he's the number 1 blitz rated
in the Power 4.
In the Power 4.
Most blitz of all Power 4 defenses.
Yeah, so he likes to get after it. He likes to send the pressure, send the zero cover pressure, zero cover blitzes. But like I said, he is one of the best coaches I've been around that puts players in the best position to succeed.
And it's going to be important this weekend facing Damon Williams in Washington. How many of you guys are going to the game? You guys going to the game? Okay, cool. How many of you guys are students here right now? Are you guys all students? What year are you? Senior. So I got to imagine there's an urgency. You want this, like this year, you want it to go well and succeed and compete for a playoffs. I think that's totally understandable. And it's a good segue going into this game because the way I see this now, Michigan with 2 losses, you're in the expanded playoff era. You have no more room for error. No. They have to run the table. If they run the table, they're a playoff team. And maybe we're hosting a playoff game in Ann Arbor, which would be absolutely killer. But as it applies this weekend, Worm, you're playing Damon Williams is maybe one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in all of college football. This guy threw for 400 against Rutgers, ran for another 136 against Rutgers. Very dangerous, throwing it in with his legs. Jonah Coleman, I think, leads all of college football in rushing touchdowns. Dangerous running back. They got Denzel Boston, an All-American type wide receiver. What do you need to see from Michigan's defense to feel confident that Michigan will win this game and get back on track?
I think first and foremost, they have to tackle. When you go back and you watch the film from last week against USC, their tackling was atrocious. And for them to stay on track, for them to be competitive in this game, they have to tackle. I would love for the defensive line to get back on track. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure against USC's quarterback from Barham, Derek Moore, the guys in the middle.
He got the ball out quick, too.
He did.
He did. So what adjustments does Michigan's defense need to make? From my standpoint, it feels like there's a lot of soft coverage.
Yeah.
And if you're bringing pressure, it would logically make sense to me that you need to get up in the defense's face, because if you're bringing pressure, you're expecting the ball to get out quick.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that, or am I misreading
No, yeah, and in the film, when you watch the film, it's the corners are sitting 10 to 12 yards off, and you're like, okay, if I'm a quarterback and they're giving me 10 to 12 yards, I'm taking that all day. The pressure, no matter how good Barham and Derek Moore are, they're not going to be able to get to the quarterback in a second and a half because the quarterback's getting the ball out. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to see a little more tight coverage. I'd love to see better tackling in the defensive line to get after the quarterback this game.
Does that surprise you, Jared? How no? Do you think? I mean, Jared Wilson played safety here. He also played in Wink Martindale's defense, correct? Do you think they should be would you like to see more press coverage? It's too soft right now. Well, yeah. And I just think that the truth is right now, Michigan is the youngest team. Someone ran a study. Michigan's like the youngest team in the Big Ten, so the future is really bright. But we also know, for every reason we just talked about, they can win now. Just the margin for error is so slim, so they got to be so detail-oriented in this game. I think on the offensive side of the ball, Worm, and you mentioned the injury to Justice Haynes is big. You have him as a Heisman candidate.
Yeah.
I'm still excited about Jordan Marshall. We've seen what he can do at times. Dominated the Alabama defense last year. It's the same story for Michigan's offense as it is for the defense. I think right now it takes all 11. The offensive line needs to operate as one unit, including the tight ends. They have to block. The wide receivers have to help out their quarterback and catch the ball. The emergence of Andrew Marsh has been fantastic. Like the idea we get Andrew Marsh for at least 3 more years, maybe 4 if we can write him a big check and entice him to come back. All of a sudden, if you can get the run game going, you can get the pass game going, Bryce's confidence starts to climb a little bit, and this won't just be a complimentary offense. I think it has the ability to be a dangerous offense. How would you measure success for Michigan's offense in the back half of the schedule?
Man, I think they, like you said, they have to be more balanced. I think throughout these first 6 weeks, it's been a lot of inconsistencies. The one bright spot has been Haynes being able to run the ball at a consistent basis, 100 yards a pop, for a game. And then also with Andrew Marsh coming on, I think that's a great weapon that Bryce is going to have, not just for this year, but the years to come. Obviously, McCulley's been one of his top targets this year as well, so that's been exciting to watch that evolve into a great, Marsh and McCulley, a 1-2 duo in the receiver room has been phenomenal for a young guy.
Yes.
But also I want to see these tight ends get back into it.
Yeah.
We talked about it on Monday that, hey, we need Klein, we need Hansen to step up and be another weapon for Bryce, because the more weapons you have, the more creative you can be as an offensive coordinator, the more points you score, and obviously that helps the team overall to be successful.
Health plays a major factor too. I mean, I think Hogan Hansen missed like the first game or two. He was injured to start the season. Marlon Klein's been up and down. Depth is obviously a big piece of championship teams is they have depth. And right now, Michigan hasn't, because of the youth, they don't have that high-level depth, so they're reliant on their best pass catchers. It sounds like maybe there's some questions of how healthy Marlon will be this weekend, but it's all hands on deck. When you look at the back half of the schedule, I'm going to read you the games. So you host Washington. Right now, Michigan's 4-2. You host Washington at Michigan State. Okay, so the rivalry game. You host Purdue at Northwestern at Wrigley. At Maryland, a sneaky, dangerous team. Maryland is very, very dangerous. And then, of course, you host Ohio State. So those are your final 6 games. You're 4-2 right now. What does a successful season look like for Michigan?
I think for fans, teammates, players, coaches, staff, going 10-2, winning out these next 6 games is going to determine if they're a successful season or not. Beating Ohio State.
Anything less would be a disappointment in your opinion.
I think so. If you go 9-3 and you lose to Ohio State at the end of the year, or you lose to Maryland and you miss the playoffs, and you're sitting at number 15 in the country. Mm-hmm. And if you just would have beaten that team, you're in the playoffs, you're maybe hosting a game. Imagine how cool it would be.
I know.
Big house in December. Like, I'm putting my parka on, I'm putting my leg warmers, my boots on, and I'm going to that stadium and watching that game. So I think if they win out 6-0 these next 6-7 weeks, they're going to be able to put themselves in a great position to not only get into the playoffs, but compete for a national championship, which I think is the standard, no matter what the players we have, no matter if it's a freshman quarterback, a senior quarterback. The standard is to win. The standard is to beat Ohio State, and I'm looking forward to these next 6 weeks.
I look at it, and that would be great. That would be great to go 10-2. But I'm going to build them in a little bit of insurance. I think if you finish 9-3, if before the season that we told the fans that Michigan would be 9-3 and a win over Ohio State, that's the most important, I think a lot of people would be really, really happy with that. Once you get into 8-4, that could be disappointing, but I think it depends on how they look. It's less about the loss to USC last week. It's more about how it looked on film and on TV. It just didn't look to their standard. I think if you finish 9-3, but you look competitive, you're playing disciplined football, Bryce continues to grow, they're able to push the ball down the field, they remain healthy, I can live with that. And maybe you're flirting. I mean, we've seen it's been chaotic in college football this year. I think 9-3, maybe, especially with the win over Ohio State, maybe they can sneak into the playoffs. But 8-4 is when things start to get sticky. 7-5 would be, I think, a complete disappointment and a missed opportunity.
But I think that's what's so big about this week is like they get the win. 5-2 looks totally different than 4-3, right?
Completely.
So getting a win over a quality team in Washington that's sitting at 5-1. That probably should be ranked. You talked about it. They should be a ranked football team.
They should be.
But going 5-2 after this week, waking up on Sunday having that good feeling of beating a quality opponent, and then obviously the rivalry game in Michigan State is going to be a big game no matter what the records are. But kind of not rolling, but building back up that kind of confidence into that Maryland game, which is going to be a big one, and then obviously the last game of the season with Ohio State. There's a lot to play for, and I'm excited for these next 6 weeks.
It's like a split in time. I think Michigan should be favored over Michigan State. They got some issues. You'll be favored over Purdue. You'll be favored over Northwestern. You'll be favored over Maryland. Like, those should be 4 wins before Ohio State. This Washington game is so important.
Yeah.
Win by any measure. But, man, if you dominate, if you play to your capability on the defensive side of the football, I mean, we saw what Ohio State did to Washington. They really struggled to score points, especially down in the red zone. They were able to give up yards, but they stifled them down in the red zone. Gosh, if Michigan wins this, looking at that schedule, that's 5 straight wins going into hosting Ohio State.
Yep.
The feeling, we would not be worried about anything that happened against USC if the team can go do that. So, I mean, that's why I say this is the most important game of the Sharon Moore era. I really believe that.
Yeah, winning cures all.
Yeah.
Winning cures all.
It's the medicine, right, that Jim talked about. And again, I go back to that's not just momentum for this year, but because of the youth on this team, how big would that be for them going forward? It's that important. All right, we do have a segment now. It's called 3 and Out. It is sponsored by Google once again. So this week we saw a 550% spike in Google searches around who's the best quarterback in college football. And that's because you had Mendoza against Dante Moore last week. Ty Simpson from Alabama has been balling. There's been some great guys. So this segment is called 3 and Out. We're going to start with Worm. I'll ask you, who is the best quarterback in your opinion in the Big Ten? That's first down.
I like Mendoza from Indiana. The way that they've been able to beat Illinois early in the season, they whooped up on them. Then they go and they play Oregon. They whoop up on Oregon. I think what he's been able to do with the talent that he has around him. Obviously, I think Kurt Cignetti is one of the top elite coaches in all of college football. He just got a big payday. But I like Mendoza. I like the attitude he plays with. I like his moxie, what he can do with his legs and his arm. I've been really impressed with what he's been able to do this season.
On the road, too.
On the road.
I felt Dante Moore. If you asked me this pick last week, I would have said Dante Moore. But for Fernando Mendoza to go into Autzen, I've called 2 games there this year. That is a rowdy and ruckus fan base. It is not an easy place to play. And he outdueled Dante Moore. To me, I mean, especially coming off that game, Jaden Maiava, the USC quarterback, that's who I have. I mean, the Trojan offense is one of the most explosive offenses in all of college football. Maiava, number 1 in the Big Ten in yards. 13-2 touchdown to interception ratio. That's top 5 in the Big Ten. USC has the number 1 passing offense in the Big Ten, number 2 in the FBS. So I give the slight edge into Maiava, but winning is a quarterback stat, so I agree with you that you can easily make the case for Mendoza. I just think Maiava, they went on the road at Notre Dame this weekend, and the conversation becomes that much more interesting. There's a few other names. I mean, I mentioned Dante Moore. Julian Sayin is a guy you might consider. The Malik Washington. Dylan Raiola from Nebraska. I think the big difference of the Big Ten today than when we were playing is just the amount of quality quarterback play, the depth of the quarterback play in the conference. Anyone can win on any given week. All right, second down. Let's go a little bit more broad here. In your opinion, who's the best overall quarterback in all of college football?
I think you got to go with the guy down in Bama, Ty Simpson.
Hate to admit it, but
you hate to admit it, but I mean, if you're just looking at what he's been able to do this season, even coming off that week 1 loss against Florida State, I thought he had a really good game. Then he bounces back, and the game against Georgia was, I thought, what kind of solidified him as, okay, this guy needs to be in the Heisman conversation.
Yeah.
And then even after that game, he's continued to build that resume to put himself in a great position to win the Heisman this year. They have a tough schedule the last 6 weeks of the season, but he's impressed me the most out of all the quarterbacks in all of college football.
Yeah, he's been great. They play Tennessee this weekend, and Tennessee's secondary is extremely beat up. I know you guys like to bet on whichever app. I know you guys like to sprinkle in some bets. So Tennessee's defense, very vulnerable in the secondary. They give up a ton of explosives, and that's what Ty Simpson does. I'll throw out a few more names here because the Heisman odds, we were looking at the Heisman odds in here for you guys that, again, like to bet. I know you like Carson Beck from Miami. Yeah. I mean, what do you think about him? Their remaining schedule, they have no more ranked games. So they can run the table, be undefeated. Then you go to the ACC championship game. You high on Carson Beck? Do you think he could steal the award?
Yeah, I think when you're looking what he's done so far, I mean, people kind of casted him off from last year at Georgia. He was hurt. He kind of slumped off the last half of the season last year. Gets to Miami, kind of revamps his career, and I'm liking what I'm seeing so far.
Go ahead.
Keep going.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm loving what Carson Beck is doing. I think Ty Simpson at this moment has been playing better ball. But like you said, six games left for the Hurricanes. No ranked teams. He could just put up insane numbers and run away with this Heisman. I like what Carson Beck's doing this year.
C.J. Carr is another name that's very quiet. I was shocked that Michigan, that he got away from Michigan.
Yeah,
He goes down to Notre Dame.
But
we got to give him props. Mm-hmm. I was at a Chad Tuff Foundation with C.J. Carr, and I think he was like a sophomore in high school at the time, and there was 500 people in the crowd. This guy's, I think he just had gotten his driver's license. And he gets up there and delivered a presidential speech in front of the entire crowd. I'm like, that kid is going to be a star. So great duel between him and Jane Mayava this weekend. You mentioned Fernando Mendoza. He's in the mix. Sawyer Robertson from Baylor. This guy's putting up stupid numbers. Number 1 in the nation in passing yards by nearly 160 yards. Number 1 in touchdowns. It's just winning as a quarterback stat. When you talk about Heisman odds, you got to win. Yep. That's not what Baylor is majoring in. All right, let's see down the line, Worm. At the end of the season, when it's all said and done, when the national champion is crowned, who do you think would be the best quarterback in all of college football?
Man, the best team in the country right now is Ohio State, and then I think right after that is Indiana. I think they're ranked 1 and 2 right now, so I'm looking at Sayin and Mendoza. But then also Carson Beck's right there too. I think it all depends on where they get seeded in the playoffs. If Indiana can win out, if Ohio State can win out, if Miami wins out, like where do they seed and where do they have to go to play? Either it's a home game or away. I'm looking at that. But if I had to pick right now, I would say Carson Beck. I like what he's done. He's a mature. He's been in college football for I think 5 years now. He knows what it takes to win. He's a leader. I'm excited to see him continue to tear it up in college football.
I find it really interesting. Of the teams that the favorites to win the national title this year, Ohio State is obviously ranked number 1. Julian Sayin is playing extremely efficient. Dante Moore of Oregon, obviously Fernando Mendoza. The Hoosiers are here to stay. I think Cignetti just signed a new contract, $12 million a year. Did you guys see that? 11.6 a year. It's unbelievable.
Where are they getting all this money at from Indiana?
It's like suddenly when you're calling up Mark Cuban, maybe. Suddenly when you're winning, they got money. That's a football school now.
No doubt.
It is crazy.
No doubt.
$11 million a year for his assistants too. So the Hoosiers are all in. But look at these teams. It's Ohio State with a great quarterback. It's Alabama with a great quarterback. It's Indiana with a great quarterback. It's Miami with a great quarterback. All these teams that are favored effectively to make a run and win the national title, it's alongside great quarterback play. So I think Bryce is not quite there yet.
Nope.
But clearly, in your eyes, do you think he has the potential? Does he have the potential next year? Let's say we do this again next year, and would love to join you guys next year.
Yep.
Do you think we may be talking about Bryce as one of the best quarterbacks in college football?
Absolutely. You guys are at the games. You guys see what this kid looks like in person. You probably see him on campus. He's put together. Like he's 6'4", 225. He looks like an outside linebacker. He's one of the more impressive guys that I've seen. Just the way he handles himself on and off the field. I think when you look at what he's been able to do with just 6 games and the potential he has, I think the sky's the limit for him. So I'm so excited to see him the next 2 to 3 years here at Michigan. But when you talk about the up and coming guys, he's got to be top 5 on your list when it comes to quarterback, Heisman, all that type of stuff for next season. It's exciting.
Man, if I had just one wish, it would. How beautiful would it be to see Michigan get back to being undefeated? I don't care, even if you have 1 or 2 losses, whatever it takes. Win another Big Ten title, win another national title, and then bring a Heisman back to Ann Arbor. Winning was so fun to watch and cover that team for 3 years. 3 straight Big Ten championships, 3 straight playoff berths, wins over Ohio State in a national championship. Man, they're right there. They're right there. And I think they'll get there because of the youth. But, boy, I want to see them get there now. Seize the moment. Tomorrow's not promised. It's going to be fun, man. It's been a heck of a lot of fun doing this with you. We really appreciate you guys. Stick around for Q&A. I think we're going to have about 15 to 20 minutes there. So, Fiji, thanks for hosting us. Athletes First, thanks for giving us this beautiful RV and getting everything set up. Just want to remind you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's been great. We've been getting great viewership numbers. The comments have been awesome. It's been great to interact with you guys. Give us a rating, a 5-star rating, if you believe it's a 5-star show. I believe it's a 5-star show, and leave us a review on there. And then follow us everywhere on social media at The Blueprint UM. Comment, like, interact with us. We'll bring you on the show on occasion. But thank you, guys. That'll do it for us. Stick around. We'll have Q&A. Thanks for showing up, guys. We appreciate it. Good stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.